Maddie Turco. I'm 15 years old, and I'm the artist that painted the ultra-realistic doll on that front table. For those of you that aren't familiar with them, they're called reborn dolls, or more simply, reborns. They're individually sculpted, hand-painted, and completely unique, just like real babies. I started my business, Reborn Reflections, about 4.5 years ago when I was 11. And since then, I've painted over 50 dolls, selling most, donating some, and keeping a few for my personal collection. As I mentioned, each doll is unique. I purchase a blank kit from a sculptor, which consists of a vinyl head, arms, and legs molded into a pale beige or tan color. From there, I gradually build up 20 to 30 layers of paint, creating veining, blush, blemishes, and adding shading to bring the doll to life, which takes about 10 to 15 hours. After that, I often add beautiful glass eyes and custom root hair and eyelashes, placing each strand one at a time with a fine needle, which takes about 20 hours. And finally, I add weight to the doll so that it feels real when you pick it up and cradle it in your arms. The most common question I get asked about my dolls is who buys these? For the most part, I sell to collectors who appreciate the artistry and the unique skill that goes into each one of them. But what I find even more gratifying is the emotional effect that these dolls have had on people. Back in 2016, I gave one of my first dolls to my friend Anne, who was struggling with ALS. Her caregivers helped her hold it, care for it, and often commented on the deep sense of calm that holding the doll brought her, especially as her health declined. And Anne loved the doll so much that when she passed, her family decided to bury it by her side. Another story that stands out is about a doll named Xavier that I donated to a psychiatric hospital in South Dakota. One of the nurses, a collector, and now a good friend, Annette, took Xavier to share with her patients. Brian, a young man who's been in the hospital for most of his life, reacted immediately, but was afraid he'd hurt the baby. Annette encouraged him to hold it anyway, even though she didn't think he'd be receptive. Then, something amazing happened. Ever since that day, 1.5 years ago, Brian hasn't let Xavier out of his sight. Annette, let me share with you what Annette said to me. She said, "Maddie, we've never seen Brian smile like this before, and none of us knew he had the capacity to care for a baby." Annette came to visit me a few months ago and said that still, day after day, Brian brings Xavier all around his unit, making sure that everyone knows about his baby. Whether you appreciate the dolls for their artistry, or you have someone like Anne or Brian in your life, I encourage you to bid and support the wonderful work that Tri-Area Ministries is doing in our community. If you'd like a closer look or you want to hold one of the dolls, please feel free to come find me or one of my family members at the front table.
Okay, after a story like that, we got a $400 value. Y'all are looking at this on the screen, is that right? Okay.
Yeah.
Got a $400 value. Can we start it out at 4? Well, anybody give me 4, need a $400 bid. Anybody give me 4, need a $400 bid. Anybody give me 4. How about a $300 bid? Will you give me 3? Anybody give me 3? I need a $300 bid. I got $300 back there. Anybody give me a quarter, 3 1/4? Will you give me 3? I got 3 1/4 now. Half. Will you give me 3 1/2? 3 1/2. Will you give me 3 1/2? Got 3 1/4 looking 3 1/2. 3 1/4 looking 3 1/2. Anybody give me 3 1/2? 3 1/2. 3 1/4 looking 3 1/2. Fixing to sell it. 3 1/2 back there. Now 375, will you give me 375? Got 3 1/2 looking 375. I got 375, now I need a $400 bid. Will you give me 4? Got 375 looking for. 375 looking for. Will you give me 4? Anybody give me 4? Need a 4. I got the $400 bid back there now. Quarter, 4 1/4. Will you give me 4 1/4? 4 I got 4 1/4 now. Half. Will you give me 4 1/2? 4 1/2. Will you give me 4? I got 4 1/2 now. 475. Will you give me 475? Who will give me 475? Got 4 1/2 looking 475. 4 1/2 looking 475. Will you give me 475? 4 1/2 looking 475. All in, all done. $450. Number 129. Thank you.